Ciao ragazzi! This is Talk Calcio TV on YouTube, and this week we've brought Totti some friends. Roger Nangolan, Paolo Dybala and Leonardo Bonucci. Ciao, buonasera. Welcome to this episode of Talk Calcio TV, where we go through our preview and predictions of round 27 in the Serie A season. Now, there was a famous song somewhere that said 3 is the magic number. Well, they're not wrong. We have 3 massive big games this weekend in the Serie A calendar. Of course, tomorrow at 5 o'clock we have Lazio, the Biancoceleste, hosting the reigning champions Juventus, the Bianconeri at the Stadio Olimpico, where we were just last week. Of course, watching Roma against AC Milan. Hasn't the time flown? Then at 7:45, of course, we have league leaders Napoli going for their first Scudetto since 1990, hosting the Giallorossi Roma at the Stadio San Paolo in Naples. Then Sunday, it is the big one everyone's talking about. It is the Derby della Madonnina, AC Milan hosting Inter Milan at the Giuseppe Meazza San Siro Stadium. They got this one right in the fixture list, that's for sure. So we go through the fixtures in alphabetical order. We start with Atalanta hosting Sampdoria. So the Nerazzurri hosting the Blu Chiarati. Of course, last week Atalanta's game was snowed off in Turin away against Juventus. We were ready to watch that game in Italy before we went to Roma, Milan, and the players went out training, and of course the game never happened. Bizarre decision to even have got that far in the first place. Sampdoria, of course, won last week at home 2-1. We still don't know Zapata, was it a cross, was it a shot? He still doesn't care, I'm sure, nor does any Sampdoria fan. However, we are going to go for an Atalanta win. Now, I know they lost during the week, of course, in the Coppa Italia semi-final. I just think there will be a week's rest in the league, a bit more fresher than Sampdoria. We're going to go for a home win for the Nerazzurri Atalanta. Then we have a relegation 6-pointer, Benevento hosting Verona. Now, Benevento on the last 3 weeks showed great resilience against both Roma and Inter away respectively, despite losing both games. They did win their match in between. However, Verona have showed some signs lately that they are not over and done with just yet. Of course, they've beaten Fiorentina. They won again last week. 19 points. If results went their way, they could even be out of the relegation bottom 3. Now, of course, they had more points than Benevento, but just weeks ago, they looked as good as dead and buried, but they aren't done just yet. In this one, I'm going to go for an away win for the Giallo Blu over the Giallorossi. We're going to go for a win for Verona on this one. Benevento, I think it's just a case of when they get relegated, not if now. I really do, unfortunately. Then we have Chievo hosting Sassuolo, the Flying Donkeys as they're known, hosting the Nero Verdi. Now, of course, Sassuolo were thumped last week at home by a fantastic Lazio side, 3-0. Chievo, having won the week before, of course, Emanuele Giaccherini made an instant impact from his loan spell. Of course, he is injured, and I think it showed last week. I'm going to go for a draw on this one. I don't expect a classic. Of course, Chievo and Sassuolo, they, of course, are staring over the relegation dogfight. Of course, if Chievo were to get a home win, then I'm sure some of their fans would breathe a massive sigh of relief with some space, that's for sure. Sassuolo, if they were to lose, then they'd be looking over their shoulders anxiously. I'm going to go for a draw on this one, I think. We then have the Rossoblu Genoa hosting the Rossoblu of Cagliari. And of course, Genoa played the other Rossoblu, Bologna, away last week. Cagliari and Genoa, of course, just 5 points between them. You think Genoa looks safe? Cagliari have been leaking goals all over the place. I am going to go for a home win for the Rossoblu, as in Genoa, on this one. Then, of course, we have the Biancoceleste, Lazio, hosting Juventus. Now, Juventus are currently now 4 points behind Napoli, who play later on in the evening. Juventus do have, of course, a game in hand over them, of course, against Atalanta at home. However, I just feel this weekend could be pivotal in the Scudetto race in Serie A. When you look at it, you just think, should they even slip up here? That is, Juventus. If Napoli were to beat Roma, then the gap would widen. So Juventus really must go to Lazio and win, but it won't be easy, of course. Lazio went to the Allianz Arena earlier in the season and won 2-0. So the pressure is on the Bianconeri, the reigning champions, without doubt. I'm going to go for a draw on this one. We then have, of course, the big Derby della Madonnina, AC Milan hosting Inter Milan at the San Siro. I think we said in our prediction last week, of course, we've done that special feature on the Milan derby. Of course, it is up. Don't forget to watch that from last night. We went for a home win on for the Rossonerri on that one. I am going to stick by my prediction. Like I said yesterday, momentum is in the Rossoneri's court. They're in the Coppa Italia final. They went away last week and won against Roma. So we're going to go for a home win for the AC Milan, the Rossoneri on this one. Of course, the big question will be if Mauro Icardi, the Inter Milan captain and talisman, will feature on that one. That remains to be a question, but right now AC Milan look rejuvenated, showing the same fight, desire and hunger as Rino Gattuso did in his day. Then, of course, tomorrow night we have Napoli against Roma. Now, of course, Napoli won at the Stadio Olimpico earlier this season and as well as last season. They've won the last two meetings, of course, 1-0. I hate to say it, I'm going to go for a home win for the Partenope. Now, should, of course, Juventus fail to beat Lazio earlier in the day, this will give Napoli a massive boost to extend their lead on this to 7 points. Even if Juventus then won their game in hand, and of course the two sides meet in Turin, I just feel that it is in Napoli's hands, and of course they could lose in Turin and still win the title. Of course, Juventus being the only team that they have lost to this year. So we're going to go for a home win for Napoli on this one. Roma, of course, it's be interesting if Cengiz will feature. Florenzi was missing last week. I think Patrick Schick, I was disappointed with his performance yet again last week. They have to go with Dzeko up front. You know, Eusebio Di Francesco is definitely a man under pressure. You know, just last week they were third, they lose one, they're down to fifth. But, you know, Milan breathing fire down the neck, as well as Sampdoria. They would have finished outside, I think, the top four, let alone, and then that would be bad and classed as a failure season. We're going for a home win for Napoli on this one. Then we have Spal against Bologna. Of course, Spal occupy the top of the bottom three position. Bologna, of course, won last week. We're going to go for an away win for the Rossoblù, that is Bologna on this one, for Roberto Donadoni's side. We then have Torino versus Crotone. Crotone sitting just above the bottom three in the relegation zone. Now last week, of course, Torino were disappointing in the last two games. Of course, they lost the the Turin derby, rather, I should say. All this talk of the Derby della Madonnina has got to us, as you can tell. Against Juventus without really giving it any fight. They lost again last week. Walter Mazzari really has to rejuvenate his side. You know, Belotti right now needs to find his goal-scoring boots again. Of course, we know they can score with Niang. We're going to go for a draw on this one. I think, but it's going to be a chess battle. We'll go for a draw on this one. Then we have Udinese, the Bianconeri, hosting La Viola Fiorentina at the Dacia Arena. Now, after that unbeaten run that Udinese had under Massimo Otto, I think it was 8 without a defeat, they seem to have gone off the boil lately. I mean, they have had tougher games in opposition recently. We're going to go for a draw again on this one. Fiorentina haven't been convincing lately. Of course, they did win week before last. So we're going to go for a... We're going to say draw on this one. So, those are our previews and our prediction of round 27 in the Serie A season. I've got to say, I reiterate my point as I said earlier on, this could be one of the most pivotal weekends in the Scudetto race, no doubt. If Juventus failed to win and Napoli win, then I think it is advantage Napoli. There'll be massive pressure then on the Bianconeri and Coach Massimo Allegri, of course, who face Spurs next week. Now, of course, we'll bring you an episode in the build-up to that one. Tomorrow afternoon, of course, we'll bring you both build-up to Lazio and Juventus, as well as Napoli hosting Roma, and we'll give you our reaction after both games has finished as well. So thanks for watching this episode of Talk Calcio TV on YouTube. Tell us what you think of this weekend's games, your predictions, what you think of ours. Don't forget to like, comment below, and don't forget to subscribe. Talk Calcio TV on YouTube. Arrivederci, ciao!